Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and I'm gonna read way too much into Unbreakable. I'm excited for M. Night Shyamalan's next movie coming out this week, Split, so to get excited about it, I'm going into an M. Night Shyamalan classic and one of my personal favorites, Unbreakable. Super excited to read way too much into this movie, but as I was watching it through this time, what really stood out to me to read into this movie is about finding purpose. And I think it's one of the reasons superheroes and comic books and all that stands out to us so much in general. What just so attracts us to the model of the superhero is you got somebody living an ordinary, mundane, everyday life. Something greater than themselves calls them out of that ordinary, mundane life, and whatever extraordinary powers and abilities they're given, they use them to serve. They lay them down and they use them to protect and to serve rather than being selfish and squandering those powers. There's something about that model, there's something about that continues to draw us into the hero. And when you look at Unbreakable, when you look at Elijah, played by Samuel L. Jackson, aka Mr. Glass, spoilers ahead by the way, that is what sweeps him up into the world of comic books. Because like if a gust of wind blows the wrong way, it's like every bone in his body is absolutely broken. So he got caught up in the world of comic books, caught up in that idea of being drawn out of this mundane life that he knows into something greater. And he got so caught up into it. Here's the interesting thing. He forgot that whole model and what it is about that model that interested him to begin with. Because when you look at heroes like Superman, they really find themselves and they really find their purpose when they lay down their lives in the service of others. In other words, when they're not looking at themselves, when they're not seeking their own self-interest, but when they're living for a greater purpose than themselves, they seem to find their true meaning in life. And Mr. Glass forgot about that. Elijah forgot all about it and was so interested in figuring out his own purpose and own identity, his whole life became utterly self-centered. And as a result, it became incredibly destructive. See, he started to believe there must be real superheroes. If he's on this end of the spectrum, there has to be somebody unbreakable on the other end of the spectrum. Comic books being a germ of truth, of some kind of reality that exists that is greater than him. And in order to find that reality, he got destructive about it, causing this hotel to burn, the train wreck, and all kinds of other crazy things to try to find that one report of the one person that walks out without a scratch. But as we find out at the end of the movie, when Elijah and David Dunn talk, we find out that he really is truly the bad guy of this story. He says to David, "Now that we know who you are, we know who I am." And he didn't even care that he was the villain of the story. He was just so wrapped up in himself to figure out who he was that it caused that kind of destruction. Whereas on the other side of it, David Dunn, whose marriage was miserable and his life was full of sadness and things like that, that sadness went away when that void in his heart was filled. But when was it filled? It was filled when he stopped looking at that void in his heart. It was filled when he laid his life down for others, when he took his gifts and he put them in service of something greater than himself. And in that moment of self-surrender, that's when he truly found himself. It reminds me of when I lose my car keys and I can't find them anywhere, but the moment I stop looking and relax for a few seconds, boom, I remember where they are. It's amazing how that happens. It's that same kind of principle in action. And I think that's what's so attractive to us about this whole model of the superhero anyway. It reminds us of that truth inside of us that we know, that if we want to find who we are, then we need to surrender to something greater than ourselves. And I find nothing greater than the one who made me, and surrendering my life to Jesus Christ and finding that when I surrender everything over to him, he guides me and shows me who I really am. And I find when I'm in service to him, who is greater than me, I find who I really am. So, if you saw Unbreakable, what did you think of this movie? What do you read way too much into it? Make sure to let me know in the comments, and while you're there in the comments, hit that subscribe button and become a Durbanian. And you notice beside that subscribe button, there's this little like bell-shaped thing. It's a little notification thing. Click that. That way you're notified anytime I post a new video. I'm going to do as many as I can. Got some exciting videos coming up here. I hope to have something really great for you by the end of February and March. Well, I have a lot of great things in the works before that, but I'm just saying there's something in particular that I think is going to be a really fun Durbin experiences. So hit that subscribe button, be a part of that. I'm Durbin. Thank you for checking out Durbania.